My name's Ian Stones and I am a co-founder and co-director at TestHim. I think, the important thing for men is to go out and find some information for themselves. Unfortunately, the way the process works at the moment is that guys aren't really properly informed. They go and see their GP, they end up in front of a gynecologist, and they're very much led to believe that, okay, look, we're going to go for IVF and that's going to be a solution. I think guys have to go out and find their own support, their own information at the moment, which is why TestHim is so important. We want to educate, we want to help guys understand their health, the health recommendations and what tests they can get. So yeah, go out and find that support. I think it's absolutely crucial that men get checked. It seems to me absolutely ridiculous that a couple can go into fertility treatment where the woman has had comprehensive tests and the guy has only had a basic semen analysis. So I think a guy really does need to get thoroughly tested so that he can properly understand his fertility and then his choices. And I think a lot of guys don't realise that they have so many more options when their semen analysis comes back poor or they have got high DNA fragmentation. That's not the end of the road, that's just information, and they can go out and find further support and get further help. So I think the first port of call for any couple is always to go and see their GP. That way the woman will get thoroughly assessed, the guy will get his basic semen analysis. If that comes back poor, then he needs to look at other options. I would always say to a guy, don't consider that that's the end of the road. Certainly, we'd encourage them to come and do the TestHim questionnaire. That'll help them find out about their lifestyle, their diet, their work environment and how that might be impacting their health. It will give them health recommendations and also advice on what further tests to get. So if they go and get those tests, get those results, they're far better informed about their fertility and then can look at the options that are available to them rather than getting pushed straight down the road of IVF, because there are other options open to men. There are a lot of elements that impact a man's fertility. Certainly his work environment in terms of heat exposure, long periods sitting, diet, mobile phones, stress, all of those things all have an impact on a guy's fertility and his sperm health. We see a lot of advice out there about, don't smoke, don't take recreational drugs. They're, very big headline things, but it's the day-to-day stuff that really matters as well. So, making sure you're wearing loose-fitting underwear, making sure that you've got a healthy diet, plenty of fresh fruit and vegetables, oily fishes, good exercise, keeping your testicles cool, all of this stuff. It's really comprehensive. There's so much more to male fertility than I think men realise. And I think traditionally men have perhaps poo-pooed a lot of the advice that they've heard because they often hear it from their partner. But actually, a lot of what the partner has picked up is right, it is correct. And I think we need to help, with TestHim, I think we need to help get that message across to men, that this stuff does count, it is important, so it's worth paying attention to. I think the biggest misconception has got to be that fertility is a female issue. I think anyone who is in the fertility arena and trying to conceive, the kind of message that's out there, and it's been out there for decades, is that fertility is a female issue. But we know, it's a 50-50 split. One of the biggest reasons couples end up going for IVF is because it's male factor. Yet the men don't believe this, or they don't know that. These couples go and see their GP, they're led towards IVF, and IVF isn't always the right solution. It can be at the right time. So I think that kind of misconception that pathway is the right pathway and it's the only option, I think we really need to change that and help men understand that they've got an equal part to play in this and that they also need to get properly tested so that couples stand the best chance of trying to conceive naturally, or if they do go for IVF, that they're in the best possible place. I think it's a really difficult question. I think it's a good question because there are a lot of men that are like, well, I've had my semen analysis and it's fine. We've been told it's not me, because that's the message that men are consistently getting, from the healthcare professionals. Because the men aren't being offered the extra tests, they're not being offered oxidative stress tests and DNA fragmentation as standard. So the woman's picking up some of this information, trying to share it with the man, and he's like, well, I've been told I'm fine. I think, we need to get more evidence, more research in front of men, and we need to help them understand their fertility and that there are issues on their side that need to be investigated and looked at. And I think, the other big problem with this is the stigma and the kind of taboo nature of male fertility, and that many guys don't want to get tested because they're scared of the result and they're scared that it might be an issue on their behalf. And I think, certainly a big challenge or a big goal of ours with Test Him is to break that taboo and help men get properly tested and realise that it's okay. That there are millions of men that are going through this, many of them in silence and on their own. And actually, if we help them get over that and get the tests, there is help out there and there is support. And actually, a lot of this stuff is fixable, so it might seem absolutely horrendous when you get results and it's going to challenge you emotionally, but with the right support, we can get you through that, and there is still hope. I'm a big believer in kind of preconception care, really. It's like if you're thinking about having a family, yes, you can start trying, go 6 months, a year, and you don't necessarily need any tests. Once you kind of getting a year in, and it does depend, there's many factors, and certainly age is a big factor. I think it's important that men and women get tested really thoroughly and they get that done early so that you've got time to deal with anything that comes up. Too often we see couples going through fertility treatment and the guy isn't investigated, they have failed attempt after failed attempt, and then somebody says, maybe we should look at the sperm in a bit more detail. If you get tested early, if you find out what your lifestyle habits are doing, in terms of your fertility, you can act on that, you can change that. And being informed, as Toby has said, knowledge is power in this game. So you find out early, you can do something about it. A lot of couples are trying to conceive later in life. Many women or couples come in to try and conceive at 35, 36, 37. And again, the subject is, oh, well, it's not the man's problem. Male fertility isn't affected by age. Well, that's not true. We know sperm quality and DNA fragmentation. Sperm quality deteriorates with age because DNA fragmentation is increasing with age. And the other problem is egg quality deteriorates with age. So what we need to do is if a couple are going to be trying to conceive later, the guy needs to be tested earlier so that he knows where he stands, because sperm quality and egg quality are vitally important. And with egg quality deteriorating with age, sperm quality needs to be up as high as it can to give a couple a chance of conceiving naturally or through IVF. The main issues that men come to speak to me about or want to work with me is they just want information. They want to know where they stand in terms of lifestyle and diet. They want to know where they stand in terms of further tests, and they then want to know where they go with that information. So quite often, I can do a male fertility review with a guy for an hour, go through his history, go through what tests he's had, explain some results to him, and then direct him where he wants to go. Give a guy some information, and quite often he'll want to go off and do it himself. Whereas typically with the women I work with, they kind of want a lot more support, kind of weekly treatment or whatever it is. Guys just want, right, what do I need to do? Where do I need to go? Let me just get on with it.